Zhao's priority. Lee Sin is the first pick we've seen. I feel like it's been a constant thing these past few days, is a Lee Sin first pick, but Suning toying with the idea of actually picking up the Jhin Zhao instead. I'd be cautious because the Lee Sin still has that early pressure in the jungle, but the flexibility opens up a little bit better as a first pick, but they will lock in that Jhin Zhao. Expect to see FPX take the Lee Sin in this rotation, and then we'll get to see what else they look to prioritize in this situation.
And I want to quickly highlight something. We were talking about the creative drafts for Suning earlier on today. We were talking about how they were getting counter picks with the Zac in the jungle, the Malzahar in the mid lane. Even though it was counter picks, those were blue side picks. Those were the 5th pick in both cases for Suning. So keep your eyes on when On is locking something in for the team. Nocturne locked in though for Doinb, and then it's Lwx on the Varus.
Yeah, so actually switching things up, it could still be a flex on that Nocturne, but he's so strong on this patch. With the Stride Breaker 90% slow, with the full damage to minions from the passive gets priority in pretty much every lane. And then Varus, that long range poke and a lot of follow-up on dives. So already a little bit concerned about what Huanfeng's potentially going to play. Could see a bit of a more defensive pick come out to try and keep him safe. I think they're toying with the idea of that Lulu going into probably a solo lane is what you'd expect to pair with the Jhin Zhao. We'll see if they want to commit to the Cogmore here. It doesn't necessarily mean
Angel.
Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, we have seen Angel play Lulu twice so far. 100% win rate, 24 KDA in that mid lane. But Huanfeng's certainly a capable hyper carry.
Yeah, and I think the thing is, you know, with the Cogmore is even if they have the Cogmore Lulu, you don't have to put the Lulu bot lane. It's kind of self-sufficient early and then scales up to put it in the combo. They do commit to that Jayce though. It's a double flex. I mean, the Lulu can flex between 3 lanes. The Jayce can flex between 2. Still keeping their options open and available. And I mean, if you are going to pick an AD carry, Lulu's pretty good at kind of keeping them alive because it's going to take a lot to make them survive against a Nocturne. And now FPX, they have options in this situation. Jungle makes sense if they're not wanting to lean towards that Nocturne there. Looks like they are toying with some different options, and they will look in the Volibear. So another flex. Technically, it can go top and jungle. We have seen more of it in the jungle, though, and it does have that early pressure. It can kind of match up to what the Jhin Zhao can offer. There is some concerns about if you're going into Lulu's Jhin Zhao. It's a very difficult 2v2 mid-jungle to beat, but at least you will be able to have some of that early pressure and form that role as a frontline tank late in the game.
Yeah, and you have to wonder if it was mind games hovering the Cogmore so much and actually thinking about the Jhin Zhao and Lulu 2v2 combo, because that is a terrifying 2v2 that you have to deal with. And what we've seen often with the Lulu Jhin Zhao is having that Jayce on the top side for your poke, and then having a poke AD carry down on the bottom side. But Ziggs is already banned. Varus has been locked in. We're kind of running out of these poke AD carries. Aphelios now being removed. If you ban something like the Ezreal as well, Huanfeng might struggle to find a pick that can work in that situation, although he is a bit of a Jhin mastermind.
Yeah, I'm not sure how well Jhin could necessarily sync in with this, but could bring it out. They are going to ban away that Cogmore, concerned about the Cogmore Lulu pairing, even though we expect this Lulu to be mid. Suning track shut down engage options, it feels, or like strong AoE ultimates with that cannon takeaway. I think you could target something like the Thresh in this situation, but you could keep it open for yourselves. I think Thresh Varus is really strong, very hard to threaten. It allows them just to remain at a safe range, constantly harass. It's also a great blind that leaves that counter pick open and available if they want to lean on it. We'll see what they look to prioritize here. They instead go for the Rise, denying that away from Doinb. And we'll see what they look to pick up here. Again, could look to go for something like the Leona works as a decent blind. I think they have options in this situation. I'd kind of want them to keep the flex of that Nocturne open and available for now being, and probably pick a support. I think with the Varus, you kind of feel confident in that bot lane, regardless of the support matchup, although it appears that they're actually toying towards going for that Orianna mid, so committing to a bit of follow-up on that dive, a bit of protection, and keeping that support counter pick open and available.
You do have to wonder now whether Nuguri's going to go for that Volibear or go for the Nocturne, and the same for Tian. Still a little bit of flexibility available there. But now Suning have to put their chips on the table. They have to confirm what kind of composition they're going to go for. Jinx, weirdly enough, is actually Huanfeng's most played AD carry this split, despite the meta. But the Jhin we talked about, he brings it out against JDG at the World Championship. He invented the Huanfeng where he was ulting from the enemy base behind them, and he locks in that signature pick for himself.
Yeah, and with the Leona, it's a pretty strong 2v2. I think for FPX, in my mind, the Thresh makes a lot of sense, but it looks like they might be one of the bit more engaged tools with the Rakan. We'll see what they end up locking in, and they do end up going for that. The Jhin, it's fine into the Varus. You're going to be able to hold up in that 2v2. A lot of champions can actually get bullied out there, but it should be okay. It has that long-range ultimate, the W, so even if you feel like you're not able to necessarily get in and up close, you have those options. And I think, you know, both teams, a lot of tools to play around with. I think the FPX dive potential is definitely there, and they have that long-range poke, but for Suning, you have the really strong mid-jungle 2v2 with that Lulu and that Zhao, a solid bot lane, and if they can get Bin ahead in this Jayce, it'll cause a lot of problems for FPX. I think that's the critical thing for Suning, is Bin ahead on the Jayce is going to be very different from if he gets shut down.
So for Suning, it's all about trying to go up towards that top side, set Bin up, and get the Jayce ahead. What's the game plan in the short term here for FPX? How do they start this game off?
I think, honestly, you have a fair few options. I think you can play through bot lane quite easily. I think freeing up Crisp to be able to move around the map and impact is of a massive benefit. And then you can lean that around the map and apply pressure. And I think that's the thing, is that, you know, the 2v2 mid jungle is really strong from Suning with the Jhin Zhao and the Lulu. If you free up Crisp from the bot lane and you make it 3 members, then it turns into a 3v2. Then you find an advantage mid and you can translate that pressure outwards. It's like a step-by-step plan. And I think that may well be the plan here. They could look to try and challenge on the top side, but I think it's just so risky because, you know, if things go wrong and the Nocturne falls behind, if things go wrong and you lose that 2v2 against the Lulus and Zhao, you could be in a really rough spot.
We'll have to see how this one's going to pan out in the early game. I'm excited, though. It's Suning versus FPX. And every time we see Suning in one of these matchups where they're up against a top team, Suning have surprised and impressed this split. They managed to beat RNG 2-1. They managed to beat Top Esports 2-1. They 2-0 JDG, 2-1 over LNG. This is a team not to be underestimated, but FPX, on the other hand, they're on a 4-win streak right now. They are looking like one of the best teams in the entire LPL. Doinb having the split of his career by the looks of things. It's both him and Knight are my top 2 mid laners right now in the entire league. This feels like both teams have the ability to take the series, and it feels like both teams, both compositions, have ways of winning the game. Let's talk junglers, though, as we're in our level 1 here. It doesn't look like any shenanigans are going to come on through. And it might be both topside starts, but Tian may be moving down towards that blue buff.
Yeah, and I think you have a little bit of options in terms of here. I feel like, you know, all 3 lanes have a decent ability to contest priority. I think, though, it makes sense for Tian to path towards the top side. Nocturne's so good at shoving waves in that it's kind of like a guaranteed sort of situation. You can just walk up, AoE them with a passive in the queue. So I kind of like the decision to lean up there. And it puts your bot lane a little bit of back foot, but I don't think you're too massively concerned about that one. A big thing for me is FPX when they hit level 6. You know, they get so many tools for the bot lane, so many tools with Doinb having that shockwave really changes the dynamic of the mid jungle. The paranoia, of course. I think that's kind of what FPX can lean towards before they want to get super aggressive. But if a window opens up, I'm sure they will look to take it.
Being all in on the bottom side, on toying with the idea, trying to fight for prio, and I think he might have found it here, as a dancing grenade will do a lot to clear the wave away. Still stacks on. That's say that 3 times fast. But it looks like the level 2 going to be fought for by FPX as well, and I think they actually will be able to get this one first. It's about a tie in the end, so neither team will have a window to all in.
Yeah, and you can kind of see the difference if you look up towards the top lane. Nuguri's hard shoving this wave in. Not really much the Jayce can do at this point. We do actually see Angel move in and place a ward in this Raptors. And the reason this is important because you see that go down at 233. That's going to then spawn at 448. We could see Suning look to contest that second Raptor swarm. They have the timer, and a lot of these teams at the top level, they will be making timers of these jungle camps. It's something they do, like summoner spells. We'll put it down in the chat, and they know when the Raptors are spawning, and they can look to make a play around that. So we can come back to that later. For now,
in the bottom side, Crisp gets rooted up, takes a bit of damage himself. No summoners burn on the side of Suning, but an exhaust comes out from FPX there.
Yeah, and the thing is as well is that the exhaust is down. There's still ignite and heal on the side of Suning, and the thing is, if they go in on Crisp, the cleanse has no value for FPX, so they have to be really careful in this situation. And you can see SofM making his way down there in position, potentially to capitalize. But I think he might just go for this Krugs. But Skull's still up and available, but he's kind of leaving it a little bit late before he goes for that one. Often doesn't feel really pressured for it.
I love to see the bot lane here from Suning posturing a little too aggressively, right? On saying, oh, I'm going to clear this ward. You should all in me. You should stop me taking vision, because SofM is down in the tri-brush trying to bait the play, but it doesn't happen in the end. Good read from the bot lane of FPX, who both of which had an amazing most recent series. Nuguri gets the fear onto Bin, even trades in this top side. And remember, when we talked about this top lane, we talked about how it's going to be relatively even until junglers get involved in the top side. That's when you expect that top lane to explode. But let's just think back to the World Championship. Because when we saw Nuguri versus Bin at the World Championship, Damwon had a massive focus on ganking that top side of the map, setting Nuguri up. But it was really much more about Canyon on the carry junglers. Nuguri was on Ornn in 3 out of the 4 games of that final, whereas Bin much more set up on the carries, much more a centerpiece of the Suning team back in that tournament.
Yeah, and I think the dynamic's a bit different now, just with the meta shift. I feel like we have a more volatile scenario, whereas there it was very much trying to create that pressure, being met with a bit of brick wall in the Ornn. Here it is a volatile scenario. If Nocturne gets ahead in this matchup, he can just ult onto the Jayce whenever he wants. And on the other side, if Jayce gets ahead, then he's just able to really harass and bully on the other side. Now, we do actually see Chris made a bit of a roam towards the mid lane there. And this is kind of an interesting one, because we talked about that Raptor spawn, the fact it was warded. And Chris actually moved through mid and was in position so that if any aggression came out from the other side, his jungler would be covered. Because I think it's a big thing to talk about is the amount teams actually try and contest these Raptor camps. It's very easy just to push in this area and invade them, and supports will often on resets look to come and defend them, or in this case look to attack.
Doinb moves in. He gets 2 of the small raptors for himself, but Tian walks away empty-handed on this one as SofM does manage to get them. But you can see that 1 CS lead in the jungle thanks to that play from FPX. It's a huge advantage, but actually a ward goes down. So SofM has closed the gap once again. And a very quiet early game, but look at the top lane CS deficit. This is the power of the Jayce having that ranged matchup against the Nocturne.
Yeah, I mean, Nuguri is getting that early prio, but it's kind of got to the point where you're not able to really do anything to Bin. You can't engage on him before 6, and Bin can just harass you and bully you down. By trying to close the gap, you get chunked out, and then there's the problem. If you walk up to Bin, hit him a couple of times, but you're not going to kill him, you have to walk away again, and he's just going to keep trading with you and making sure he wins the extended trade. At level 6, Nuguri has a bit more threat, obviously not in the tower. We do see SofM looking on this bot side, but it's kind of tricky. Lwx is cleansed, Crisp is Rakan. Not the easiest targets to gank in this situation.
Trying to set up the play. You could see Angel was leaning towards that side, but had to return to mid to clear this wave away. Tian moves in for vision himself. SofM does not want to use the smite on the crab if he can help it, but FPX might just force him to. There's the smite. SofM gets the crab. Now Root comes out onto Crisp as On trying to escape, and a nice little bit of footwork coming out from Suning to get the crab and get out.
Yeah, it does end up being in that flash from SofM, but they get the crab, they get away. Could have been a lot worse in that situation. Now see FPX hand off that blue to Doinb, and talked a little bit before after this draft about the level 6 impact of this FPX composition. They get a ton of power after that point. The paranoia available, the shockwave. Shortly we'll get the chains of corruption and the quickness to follow. These tools give a lot more agency to FPX, so the fact that we've had this slow early game without too much happening, I think FPX will be pretty happy about. I expected potentially to see SofM and Angel working together, contesting those Raptors, causing issues for Tian, but so far it's just been slow and steady.
Slow and steady often wins the race, but that's about a hare and a tortoise, not a bird and a lion. So we might be writing our own fable here in this series. And Suning's certainly no strangers to the late game, right? When we think about this team, especially across the course of this year, ever since Sword Art left, it does feel like Suning are more than happy to go for a very, very slow early game. Just scale up. So long as they're even in the mid game, then during those mid-game fights, that's when they really come alive and find advantages for themselves. And they certainly have a lot of mid-game power, right? When you think about Jhin, it's all about the 2 and 3 item spikes. When you think about Lulu's in Zhao, a couple of items in there and you can take over the game. Jayce, the same with these lethality items. But FPX, they know that they are priority top. They had the ability to push out mid. And so they're going to be able to grab themselves a herald. This is totally uncontested by Suning, but it's also untraded, right? Suning get nothing across the map.
Yeah, and I think that's important is the fact that FPX were able to reset Crisp very early. get him to move over there and offer support. And because of those priorities you talked about, it was just an easy pickup from FPX. And, you know, Huanfeng was still resetting. Ong was moving up to see what was going on. They find nothing in return. And a lot of times we see that scenario where a team goes for Herald and the other team gets, you know, 2 or 3 plates bot lane. The fact that it's just a flat Herald take definitely puts FPX in a good spot to start snowballing this game. Just comes down to where they want to apply that pressure, where they're looking for with the Herald, and where they're able to find the greatest impact.
Look, all I'm saying is that play didn't feel like Suning were very awake just yet. SofM does manage to get himself that cannon. Nicely done. Perhaps a bit of a coffee diff so far in favor of FPX, the caffeine diff coming through. But the gold diff is 500 in favor of Suning so far, and that is all in that top side. Look at the top lane CS difference and the jungle CS difference is in favor of Suning. It's going to be down to how Tian can use this Herald to be able to close that gap. As Bin wants the 1v1 with Nuguri, tries to steal the crab, but he's a little bit too late.
Yeah, not able to find it there. Nuguri finding the window, picks up the Herald. I mean, not the Herald, the Scuttle, sorry. And again, things pretty slow. Haven't really seen too much development. That minor gold lead is easily closed up by the Herald, but it's kind of seeing where they can apply the most pressure with it. Huanfeng's been a little bit isolated in the bot lane, and against like a Rakan and a Varus, it's actually pretty dangerous because you don't have cleanse. If one of those connects, it's pretty much a death sentence, but he's been navigating it well, and I think this is credit to Huanfeng. He's very typically an AD carry who's able to position safely. You know, we had Jackie Love we were talking about in the last series. He is someone who values damage over maybe safety. I feel like Huanfeng, it's not that he doesn't want to do damage, but that he is very focused on making sure he survives. And I think as an AD carry, that's often what you want to do.
Yeah, certainly on the Jhin as well. I actually think that there are parallels to be drawn between Huanfeng and someone like Reckless, right? Where he is a very safe AD carry a lot of the time. I will say, Huanfeng does play Draven. His Ezreal is pretty aggressive as well. Does like to use that E for damage as opposed to safety. So not always the case, but certainly when he's on this Jhin, very much leans into that Jhin playstyle, that supportive player, which was very much the meta last year. So you do always have to bear those kind of statements in the context of the metas that these players have been playing in. Because remember, last year, Huanfeng was a rookie. I think it's really easy to forget that when you look at the players on Suning, you think about Bin and you think about Huanfeng. Everyone thinks of these guys as like veterans. They went to the world final, right? Last year, they were rookies. These are still relatively fresh players in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, and I mean, it's pretty crazy, honestly, to think about the fact that they were at the world finals as rookies, essentially. And now a bit more experience on their belts. Do you see that Herald come down mid? Just going to be the 2 plate, and we kind of see this quite a bit. It's kind of just like we see the first Herald gets 2 plates on mid. You get 1 Herald kind of passively, and the second Herald finishes it off. So looking for FPX to prioritize the second Herald to finish off. And I think it's because the mid tower typically is one of the harder ones to take in the game, and opens the map up so much. Now, Chains of Corruption doesn't connect. That's Nuguri kind of ult. They make the look for it.
Oh, they just go. They just dive underneath the tower. Huanfeng is surely doomed to Nuguri. One more shot will not finish the kill. In the end, the minion wave isn't there. Doinb's on the bottom side of the map as well, just in case. This will be a couple of plates on the bot side as FPX enacts that bottom lane dive that they are oh so famous for. SofM taking away the chickens as a payment, but that's about all they'll get. Maybe Bin can get some plates.
I think that's the... I think it just shows the kind of issues trying to keep this Jhin safe in this game against this Nocturne. Like, the Chains of Corruption didn't even land. He's under tower, and it's just like, you're just dead. And I did talk a little bit about how Ong was leaving Huanfeng quite isolated throughout this laning phase. Yep. There's a lot of times where, like, you know, you see a support roam, but they kind of have to be back when there's a potential threat. And it kind of felt like Ong was just, like, leaving him safe, was confident in his AD carry. There's not much you can do to outplay the Nocturne in that situation, though. Even though he didn't get hit by the Chains of Corruption. And what I actually did like to see was the fact that Huanfeng knew
the lasers. Nuguri lasering across the map. Sorry.
So he didn't even burn any summoners in that situation, which I think makes sense. The next Chains of Corruption that comes in, he has his flash still available to keep himself safe on that one.
Yeah, very disciplined from Huanfeng, knowing that he's just going to go down there. And, you know, if he heals, Maybe he can get another auto on Nuguri. Maybe he can trade the kill. But I think saying that, look, it's more valuable for me to be able to survive the next play than I get 300 gold. The 300 gold doesn't make a significant difference to the overall state of the game, especially in a professional game. So good discipline from Huanfeng in the bottom side. And we'll try and find out what this pause is for as fast as possible for you guys. But yeah, sorry, go on, Aux.
Honestly, I see so many scenarios where players will like burn summoners, even though it's very clear they're already dead, and they're not really going to get value out of them. It's almost like they're like, oh, I'm going to flash just because like you want to try and survive, but it's like you're just burning a summoner that's going to be exploited later on, and these teams will track that. They'll prioritize you as a target because your flash is unavailable. They'll base strategy, they'll base their plays around the fact that you're missing that summoner. And I think it's credit to Huanfeng for having the sort of the mindset not to just burn needless summoners. Like we even saw it last series, from Tian on the Jayce when he got sort of engaged on a flash. You know, was no way he was getting away with a flash, and then just ended up wasting it. It offers that vulnerability.
Yep, so good stuff by Huanfeng to hold on to that one. And I love seeing
press your button sometimes is the play.
Yeah, the kill coming through from the side of FPX in that bottom side as well. We've been talking about how Huanfeng was a rookie last year, made it all the way to the World Finals. Well, Lwx basically sitting there saying, look, mate, I know you made it to the World Finals last year. Well, the year before, I'm a world champion. Like, forget the finals. I finished the finals. I've completed it, mate. Already got the t-shirt. Already got the skin.
Yeah, completely
and
legend.
Huanfeng feeling the rough of that one. You can see Lwx already on 2 items already.
Well, an item and a half, I think I'd call that.
Sorry, I meant close. I don't know why I said on 2 items. I meant close to 2 items, but my brain is a little slow. Coffee diff happening on the caster desk as well here. But very, very slow early game.
I think that's the thing with the... Oh, saying that, I think Nuguri... I'm not sure what happened to Blast Gun there. Just decided he didn't want to really knock him anywhere. I think that's one thing with the Varus, is that his spikes are very different from every lady carries, just because of the fact that he is building those lethality items. A lot of them are cheaper items and have a massive amount of impact. So could see him just kind of curving out ahead of Huanfeng. Obviously needs to stack up a bit of crit to be super relevant. He's looking towards that Infinity Edge later on. To get a little replay of how that play in the top lane started. Nuguri did end up burning his flash there just to get away from that one. But again, as you said, it's been pretty slow so far in this game.
So let's talk pacing again here, Aux' FPX. Maybe I don't have time to talk pacing. SofM moving in towards Tian here, but Tian has his mid laner moving up. Nuguri going to be clearing vision. Bin and SofM, I think, have to get out of here for now, because FPX were threatening with 4 potential players on the top side of the map here. But let's talk pacing. Herald going to be coming up onto the map in less than a minute. In fact, I think it might already be onto the map here. We've got Drake up in a minute as well. Feels like FPX are in the driver's seat.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't been a high, fast-paced game, but they've been the one controlling it, getting those objectives, getting those minor advantages. And actually, they're going for resets here, get back on the map, get some gold spent, and Suning take a great opportunity to rush down this Herald. Let's talk before about how that first hold from FPX gets the mid-tower low, the second one can finish it off. If Suning deny this, then that isn't really a prospect. They can also use this Herald mid themselves, and that can pull FPX away from the Dragon if they want to contest that. Bear in mind, though, it is just second Dragon. They're not forced to contest this one by any means, and they could just let this go if they want. We do see Bin resetting, but I think just based on the fact that he's walking towards top lane, they may not be wanting to contest this one straight away.
Never underestimate Suning's intentions as they go for the fight, and immediately Doinb is just straight 1v1 by on. At the end of things, Angel flashes out to safety as well, and this is just looking beautiful for Suning. 2 kills immediately, and they just pull the trigger. They snap their fingers, and down go Doinb and Nuguri.
Yeah, just supreme confidence from SofM there to go straight in, shut down the Orianna, and the thing is, they try to return fire on the Lulu. But because Lulu survived, you're still getting all that value, the constant shielding, the speed ups and everything, and it just allows the side of Suning to continue that pressure and easily win that fight and get the Dragon. So a really solid contest came out, and yeah, I didn't think they would necessarily want to fight that one, but they just pulled the trigger so quickly, and it's really impressive when you look at the engage tools from FPX, Paranoia, the Chains of Corruption, the quickness from the Rakan, that they are the ones that are caught out and kind of left sleeping in that fight.
Yeah, feels like FPX weren't really anticipating the level of proactivity here. And SofM just runs in with the whimsy, gets the W onto Doinb, and just beautiful.
Yeah, really nice ult as well from Ong just to follow up on that. The stun carries over afterwards and just means that the Orianna is getting away. And then here, because Angel survives, yes, he's low HP, but it doesn't really matter because he can still just shield people from further back than them. He doesn't even need to be in range to actually hit anyone as long as he can buff his allies. And they're able to get those 2 quick kills and find a bit of an advantage. We do see during that replay that this bot lane tower was picked up, I believe, by Lwx, and he's been able to pick up a pretty significant lead. We talked earlier about how the Varus has those cheap lethality spikes, and with that gold advantage as well, he's going to be in a really comfortable position. If they can set up a team fight a little bit better, we could see Lwx just being this massive threat with all that poke and all that damage.
And I want to just quickly correct something I said at the start of that replay. I shouldn't have been talking at the start of the replay. I should have let Aux take this one. But SofM actually flashing to get the E without going for the W first. So very, very low space for reaction there from Doinb, which is why the flash ends up being late and it sets the whole play up. So really intelligent stuff out from SofM. And obviously Angel following up with the wild growth as well. Beautiful to see. And now FPX grouping up towards the top side of the map here. Bin moves up to clear the wave, but they could set up for a dive here, Aux.
Yeah, I think the problem is the wave gets cleared out so quickly. I know the dive potential of the Volibear is still there with the ultimate, but very quickly Suning are responding to this and moving over. They want to secure this blue buff, and it seems like a big contest coming down for it. I mean, look at SofM. He feels so confident now with the Stride Breaker. If you get on top of someone, the 90% slow is going to keep them there. And with the Lulu buffing you, you're likely going to feel comfortable in those scenarios where you're up close and personal.
Look at the way Suning are stacking up here. They want to find a fight, and On flashes over. It's Doinb caught again. No summoners available with the curtain call across the team. In goes everyone. Shockwave onto On, though, means they can't escape, and they don't quite have the damage. Bin now in the middle of the action as SofM's on the front line. There we go. Huanfeng finishes Nuguri. And now a little bit more as Lwx has to cleanse away from that deadly flourish. 4v4 here, and Suning wanted to finish the tower. They want to push more. SofM's gone too deep. Does not have his flash. And I don't know what he expected.
Yeah, a little bit too deep there. I think feeling a bit hypey off the back of that play. Ends up being a 2-for-1 in favor of FPX. And I think the difference there was they got on top of Doinb, but the follow-up wasn't able to come through. A lot of bodies blocking. And as a result, Doinb just able to kite away in that one.
And the thing is, when you look at this composition from Suning, right now, they really don't have that much upfront damage. You've got, obviously, this Zhao can go in and blow someone up right at the start, but Angel doesn't offer much damage to follow up. Bin does if he can get in, but felt like everyone was out of range.
Yeah, so we see here the engage comes in. SofM's nowhere near. The curtain call can't actually connect onto the Orianna other than this one shot there. The Jayce has to kite away because of the Chains of Corruption. So they do re-engage here and find Nuguri, but again, Doinb survives, and we see many members of FPX backing with low health bars. But then here, you're not going to be able to get the tower. They're able to cut through the herald, and SofM just doesn't group up with this team. There's no reason to go in this direction. You're not supported by your teammates. It seems like a little tiny lapse in communication just cost him his life there.
Yeah, really tough one from the side of SofM. He goes a bit too deep. He wanted a bit more. And this is the thing, right? When we look at LPL teams, when we look at top junglers in LPL, often they get rewarded for pushing that a little bit further, from trying to get a little bit more value out of every single play. This time, FPX read it, though, and punish him. And actually, we're talking a lot about Suning because it feels like they're being more proactive in these fights. But in the grand scheme of things, it's FPX that are leading the charge right now. 1,500 gold lead so far. And a lot of that is in the pocket of Doinb, right? It's in the pocket of Lwx, and that is the perfect place for it to be for FPX.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big thing, is that tower take for Lwx has given him that advantage. And again, he has those cheap lethality items. He's got the Man Immune that's stacking up pretty close to being finished. He has the Serpent's Fang, which is a very high value item in this game. We often see it picked up simply because the stats alone are good. But you're against a Lulu, right? You're against SofM, who's probably going to be building a Sterak's at some point in this game. Does have a lot that he can offer in this situation, especially even the Locket coming out from On, which you're going to see. Now, the Dragon's prioritized here by FPX, able to pick up the second with the Cloud Drake. In return, Suning are threatening his tower and might actually just take it, but FPX looking for the engage off the back of this, I feel.
We could have a 5v5. Tower goes down here. Bin the engaged target. Wild Growth to keep him alive. On the front line as in goes SofM. The Solar Flare on 3 from On. And he really is on today. It's a great bit of damage onto Tian on the outward side of the play. Suning managed to get themselves a tier 2 and get away with it.
Yeah, I know. As you said, Ong is just on point today. Honestly, feels like every solar flare is stunning. Not just connecting, landing the stun. And there, a 3-man stun is not an easy feat. There's a lot of times where you see the ult just slow people down. And again, it doesn't mean that they just dominate the fight, but it means Suning are able to back away from that one safely after taking that tier 2 mid. And sure, FPX got that one dragon, but you've lost so much pressure. Now, we can see Suning lean into those side lanes because they feel a little bit isolated with the mid tower. All we need to see from Suning is push up mid lane, use that priority to sort of lean into your side lanes there. What I actually see here is Bin has pushed in this bot lane, and he's going to reset. What I expect to happen is he'll head up towards the top side. He doesn't need to be bot anytime soon, and they can play through the top and mid lane as a 5-man unit. We don't need to see Bin show up yet because obviously he can rotate down towards the bot lane to cover if he needs, but just his presence there is valuable on LWX. Not the fat thing you want, honestly. Not ideal.
And especially against this composition, that is extremely not ideal. Like, when SofM jumps onto your face, LWX, you want to have that flash available, and he doesn't. That is a scary place to be. Does still have the cleanse, but now that is both FPX carries with no flashes. Doinb no summoner at all. LWX only the cleanse. And this is a composition from Suning every single fight we've seen started off of a carry getting picked. Now a TP comes through into this mid lane. The flash immediately as well. There was Angel arriving on the scene. Crisp, bit of CC and gets out. Now SofM onto the backline. LWX, he doesn't have a flash, and he is punished heavily. Tian now the target as he's slowed, but SofM looking towards the mid lane instead.
And that's the punishment. They don't know that he doesn't have the flash, but they find the window to get on top of him. There's nothing you can do against SofM and the Zhao when he's being buffed by a Lulu. Kind of just immortal at this point. And now they're actually baiting around the Baron, but look at this flank angle from SofM. He wants them to push forward. He's looking for Doinb on this Orianna. They will start it up just to bait them in.
He's going in. He's just going for the 1v4 here. Does have his ulti to keep himself alive. The rest of the team following up. There's a beautiful route from Huanfeng, but the rest of the team can't close the gap. Suning looking for a window, but FPX survived it.
Yeah, I think they were hoping FPX would push forwards a bit more, but the blue trinket came out. They saw the Baron wasn't that low, and also they saw SofM wasn't there, and they started to think some shenanigans were afoot. They're able to back away, but I love the proactivity and the imagination from Suning to look for these sort of plays. The jungler not even being in the pit and looking for the flank angle. It doesn't end up panning out, but they are constantly pressing for these opportunities.
And you know, people always ask me, why Suning? Why do I like Suning? Of all of the teams, why is it this one? And it's games like this. These are the reasons. Because they're so creative. They play so differently to every other team. I love the teams that have their own unique style. And FPX also fall in that category. It's Crisp. Barely slides out with his life there. But SofM could look for a little more on. Just narrowly misses the Zenith blade on that one. And Suning will have to retreat. Once again, look at Nuguri on the minimap, though, pushing on the bottom side.
Yeah, Bin needs to go answer that, and that frees up a window for Nuguri to move and then be with his team on the map and offer that pressure. And you can see that's why kind of Suning back away. They know that Jayce is kind of going to be tied up for the next 15, 30 seconds dealing with that wave. They want to be a little bit cautious around that. And you know what, Joe? Thinking about what you said about Suning, you know the other reason? It's because of the mascot. It's because of the logo, right? The cute lion. You can't deny it. I know how you are. It is cute.
It is very cute. Doinb is on a ward here. Will walk away. I wasn't sure if he was going to overextend, but he spotted the ward, and he's fine on this one. And Suning, you can feel how badly they want to play around this Baron, right? They have been sat on the top side of the map for like the last 5 minutes, but the next Drake is coming up in 30 seconds. And I do wonder if we will see a shift in priority from both teams.
Yeah, I think this might be the last attempt to play to the top side. You see once more, Bin pushes in the bot lane. It causes Nuguri to have to respond to this, and then he moves up to the other side of the map. He doesn't even show up, by the way. He can't even be seen by FPX, but just because they know that Nuguri is tied up in the bot lane right now, and they don't know where Bin is, they have to respect that and allow Suning to go a bit more aggressive, and then without even showing up, Bin's going to move back down and cover this wave. FPX are looking to start this dragon up early, and Suning aren't really in position to contest it, but honestly, neither are FPX. It's kind of just an impromptu start.
Yeah, I've seen SofM take these 2v1s before, but with Doinb TPing into the play. That is going to be FPX grabbing themselves Soul Point. And, you know, that is the second objective this game that we have seen where Suning essentially don't contest whatsoever. They don't trade on the other side of the map. They just allow FPX to get it. We saw it with the first Herald of the game. Now we're seeing it with the fourth Drake.
And you know what? I kind of wonder, would they have still done that and just not prioritized it as much if that had been a different dragon? If that had been an Infernal, right? I feel like maybe we would have seen a bit more priority on it. Hard to say, but it did definitely feel like Suning didn't really set up for that one, didn't really get in a position to do anything with the time. Kind of just went, okay, well, I guess you guys get it. We're a bit late on the play. And again, it puts FPX on the Soul Point. It's something to play for now. They are hunting here for LWX. Games of Question comes out.
Has to use his ulti to keep himself safe from the Varus damage. Now the follow-up as Nuguri flies into the side of the play here. Wild Growth onto On to keep him alive. Shockwave only onto one. As Doinb's actually caught, they turn it around, but they just get blown up. FPX, the giant meatball of stats right now as they charge forward at Huanfeng. I hope you like Italian food, buddy. As he flashes away, but Tian flashes after him. The stun comes in, and down he goes. Why the long pause? Because he's a bear right there. Nuguri charging in as well. Angel and Bin trying to escape the solo laners from Suning, the last two onto the map, and Baron will be started by FPX, but Bin isn't done just yet. Crisp forced out of the play here. Health bars are pretty low on FPX, and maybe Angel and Bin can at least stop the Baron from being taken down. Another couple of shock blasts will do a lot of work as Nuguri low on HP, and Auto goes in, a shock blast goes into the backline. LWX is there, Bin flushes into the play, the Baron is taken and Bin goes down.
So
nobody dies from FPX.
It's an absolute disaster for Suning. They once again look for that aggressive play, but FPX are ready to respond. Nocturne in position to fly in, and they make a critical error that costs them massively. They lose the Baron. They don't get a single member. And we can see from this replay that, you know, Nuguri's in position to assist with this. He doesn't need to be bot lane anymore. They're playing aggressive here without the assistance of their Jayce. And remember, the Nocturne has that much higher range, so they start the fight off. The Nocturne just flies in, and instantly it just feels like they're going to lose On. We've already had the ult used from SofM, so he's down. And with those two members deleted at the start of the fight, there's just no way they can continue this. The chase comes out from Tian, and Huanfeng just can't do anything to get away now. With the Baron in hand, with a 3k goal lead, we're finally seeing some real momentum built up for FPX.
And you see On go on to Doinb, you see SofM follow up, and it's like, oh, hang on, another solo fly, 3-man shockwave from Doinb though, and in go everyone from FPX. SofM is alone as Nuguri is dived onto the backline by himself and takes a 3v1. FPX have gone from 0 to 100 in this game, and they might just take the base.
And we kept praising the solar flares from Ong, and sure, they're great, but it's very different when you land in those 3-man solar flares or a massive shockwave from Doinb, and Suning are just getting obliterated now. It feels like just the momentum's hit, and there isn't even an opportunity to breathe. It's once again top and mid for Suning to defend. 5 members strong of FPX, and the look of the end.
Tian difference in this game as FPX take game number 1. Suning will have one last ditch fight, but it cannot happen. And FPX take down the Nexus and show Suning that they cannot be out team 4.
It just feels like it hits a point and the momentum just goes insane. Like, if you blink, you'll miss it. The game just went, as you said, from 0 to 100 in an instant, and it felt like Suning couldn't even regain control. It's like they made that mistake on the top side. Boom, it's Baron. Boom, it's another fight. Boom, the game's over. And it's just like instant repetition. It really felt like, you know, they had a decent control of the game in the early stages. They didn't maybe have as much momentum or like proactivity as I would have liked. I feel like with the Lulu and Zhao, you could have done a bit more, but it felt like they were in it. They had that good fight around Dragon, and then the second they just take their hands off the wheel, it's out of their control. And you can, I mean, look at the goal graph.
Yeah, it's just that goal graph is insane.
It's like it's back and forth, and then look at the massive downward sort of. It's crazy.
If you look at this goal graph, it's like you're looking at an X-ray of the ocean floor, right? And it's kind of bumpy up and down, then boom, Mariana Trench. And that's the code difference at the end for FPX, winning 2 fights back to back. And the thing is, a lot of this to me felt like the AD carry pick, this Jhin, just couldn't do anything in most of these fights. You see him ulting when Doinb gets ulted, gets stunned up, whatever. And Huanfeng just has 4 shots that all hit Tian, and Tian's basically got a minor itch on his back, and that's about all the damage it does.
Yeah, I think the problem with the Jhin here is Nuguri is such a massive threat to you, right? You can't position safely against him. Jhin isn't the best at killing like bulky front lines. He's better at hitting squishy targets. There was a lot of bulk on that team. And, you know, you're also going up against the Varus, who can just snipe you from a long distance, you know? If you're playing like something like the Jinx, you can shred those bruises a lot more. You get the reset, you can start pushing forwards. But it kind of just felt like, as you said, pops the ult, fires, nothing really comes from it. And in the meantime, you saw the damage Lwx was doing on this Varus. He fires one piercing arrow over the enemy team. He's doing more damage than the entire curtain call was.
Yeah, and we're getting to the point now where it feels like the bird is winning this one out against the lion. The Phoenix flying once again. 1-0. We're going to jump to a break, then we'll find